I was just scrolling through Twitter and I came across this article right here about Harvard University. As you know, that's considered one of the top, quote unquote, elite schools in the establishment. And you know how every school has to have some kind of a quota, especially at PWI, where they have to have a certain amount of people who are not white get admitted into the schools. But something recently just happened when it came to their Asian students, in which Harvard just came out and said that they got a record admission of Asian students coming into the school, while the admissions for black students dropped, and they managed to throw Latino students in there, the South of the Borderian students in there as well, because it can never just be about the black students. They had to throw the South of the Borderian in there with them as well, and not just when it comes to student admissions, but also with just about anything, as they usually like to do. But something just tells me there's something way more going on with this. But I'm going to read into this and see what else I can find out. Harvard University admitted a record number of Asian American students to its class of 2027. A move experts are wary of celebrating given the drop in admissions in most other minority groups. It comes as the Supreme Court continues deliberations on a lawsuit brought against Harvard by a right-wing group that alleges race-conscious admissions discriminate against white and Asian students. Now, I have said in a video that I did a while back, not that far back, notice how a lot of white people are incorporating themselves with Asians. Like, you know how like always try to say black and brown or black and Latino? Peep game. Peep how they are doing the dual combination of white and Asian. This is like the second or third time that I've read something on a completely separate story where they've done that. Like literally, they're trying to form like Voltron and do their own little whatever. Even though we've said that black and brown doesn't work, but I'm sure white and Asian is probably going to work for them. In a breakdown of the incoming class released by the university last week, Harvard revealed that 29.9% of admitted applicants are Asian American. It's a 2.1% jump from last year's number. It's been part of a long-term trend, admissions dean William R. Fitzsimmons told the Harvard Crimson. The percentages have been going up steadily. It's not a surprise. There are a couple of possible reasons for this, said Julie Park, an associate professor at the University of Maryland who studies racial equity in higher education. One could be an increase in Asian American legacy admits, which favors children of Harvard alumni in the admissions process. It also coincides with the population growth of Asian American young adults and high school graduates in the U.S. generally. Race-conscious admissions can be very dynamic and institution-specific, she told NBC News. Under race-conscious admissions, Harvard has a very sizable Asian American class. It's just the natural byproduct that you're just going to numerically have at Harvard unless they step away from legacy admissions, which I actually think they should. Harvard did not respond to multiple requests from NBC News for comment. Usually when I hear them say that they haven't responded for comment, means they don't have one on deck and they're trying to come up with one, or they just don't have one at all and just don't feel like saying anything because they probably know whatever's been put out about them might actually be true. The Supreme Court is currently preparing a decision on students for fair admissions versus Harvard, a lawsuit that alleges that the Ivy League university's race-conscious admissions process discriminates against Asian applicants. After the court heard the case in November, advocates fear that conservative majority might mean the end of affirmative action. Students of color at both Harvard and the University of North Carolina, also being sued by Students for Fair Admissions, have spent months protesting and speaking out in favor of race-conscious admissions. Losing that battle could put lower income Asian American and Pacific Islander applicants at a disadvantage, Park said, as well as stunting students' diverse educational experience. We know from research that low income Asian American students actually do receive a boost under these policies, she said. They pay attention to not just race but also ethnicity, to subgroups that have been historically underserved in education, like Southeast Asian Americans and the Pacific Islander community. I guess they got to keep up this image of the model minority, and this is their way of going about it. Well, one of their ways. What concerns experts is that for the second year in a row at Harvard, black and South of the Borderian, like I said, I'm reading it as they put it, admits drop comprising 15.3% and 11.3% respectively. Native Hawaiian and Native American admits are also down from last year, sitting at 0.5 and 2% respectively. Now, when you think of those drops in those percentages like that, and you think about the piece in the article that I read earlier about how it was this right-wing group that was saying that they're being discriminatory towards white and Asian students, and you look at this number, one would think, is someone there at Harvard working with these right-wing groups in order to make this a reality? I mean, it would be a safe assumption when they actually admitted that there were right-wing groups that were like speaking out saying that there's not enough Asian students or enough white and Asian students there. And, you know, I'm telling you, whenever there's a slight increase in uptick of black students, and I'm only focusing on us, where there's an increase somewhere where it's considered to be a quote unquote white space, then that's when they want to yell, oh, it's an attack on white people. Oh, it's a war on white people. Oh, this is white genocide. I tell them, calm down. When you go to sleep at night and wake up in the morning, before you wash your face, if you even do that, because a lot of you don't bathe, and I know I said wash your face, but that's a prerequisite to bathing, you will still be PC. White supremacy will still be a thing. You will still have all the privileges and benefits of a white person in this world. Calm down. While you have seen growth in the Asian American high school graduate population, it is nothing compared to the growth in the quote unquote Latinx population, she said. So it's really concerning and illuminating that you're not seeing that similar uptick in admitted students among the black students. They keep throwing the black and brown. That's literally like they love to lump us into that group together when it benefits. That disparity points to some issues. Without a clear breakdown of application data, it's hard to know why this might be the case, said Will Del Pilar, Senior Vice President of the Education Trust, an organization working to fill gaps in educational inequity. The threats to affirmative action have a chilling effect, not only on applications by students of color, but on outreach efforts from universities too. It can be a very detrimental effect on the students who get served and the services that are provided to them, he said. When you put it in conjunction with all of that anti-DEI, anti-critical race theory legislation that passing at the state level, I think it creates these conditions that can have a huge impact on enrollment. Now, remember what I said about Ron the Snowflake and him doing the whole Stop Woke Act and the critical race theory? Mind you, a lot of that really kicked off in Florida. This isn't Harvard. Harvard is far from Florida. And they're mentioning CRT here. That's why I keep telling people, if he becomes president, it's going to be hell on earth. Even ongoing lawsuits or proposed bills can have a regressive effect, with institutions preemptively taking money out of diversity efforts, recruitment, or support structures. The decision may come out and say you can't use race as a factor in admissions, he said. So institutional actors may say, okay, you can't use race as a factor in awarding financial aid, or in creating student support groups, or in targeting enrollment, or in targeting efforts at certain groups. Park also cited that the university's high tuition and its emphasis on matriculating athletes, which she says tends to favor white recruits. No surprise there. They have these policies that are trying to facilitate equity, but they also have these policies that undermine equity. So, I think they really need to take a hard look in the mirror. You know what's so interesting? I read this entire article, and I highly doubt that anyone who loves to say the word woke is going to call this woke, because this lines right up with them. But I bet you if you was to flip it and say there was an uptick in black students being admitted to Harvard, then they'll say it was affirmative action or that they were being woke. I guarantee it. But like I said, the part of the article that really stuck out to me was when they said that it was a right-wing group out there saying or bringing up a lawsuit. I'll read it again. It says, come as the Supreme Court continues deliberations on a lawsuit brought against Harvard by a right-wing group that alleges race-conscious admissions discriminate against white and Asian students, even though I don't know why they put white students there, because they make up the bulk of the population at that school. And I think Asians make up the second highest. So it's like, Basically what they're saying is they want this school to be exclusively white and Asian, which at one point Harvard pretty much looked like that, but I think at that point it was just mainly white before Asians came in. But because Asians are their, BFFs, they'll stand to be next to them, they'll tolerate them. But as far as those niggas, nah, we can't have them here. Like, think about this group said that they were discriminating against white and Asian students when they already make up the major population of the school. I mean, the delusion is real. But when you have that mindset, delusion may be all that you have. And they'll mask it as intelligence and a high IQ, so-called.